Hello, my name is Jonathan Elliott and today I'm joined by Dr. Jörg Schuttrumpf, the Chief Scientific Innovation Officer at Grifols. Jörg will be taking the stage at our upcoming event, Reuters Events Pharma 2025, where he'll be joining our keynote panel, AI, Promise to Practice. Today we're joined by Jörg to talk about Grifols' amazing initiative to advance research into the early diagnosis and treatment of Parkinson's disease using plasma-based biomarkers. This is under the banner of the Kronos PD initiative. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Jörg, welcome. So let's just start by asking you, can you just give us an overview of the Kronos PD project and outline its main objectives?
So Kronos PD is a high-tech research initiative with a goal to identify signs of Parkinson's disease even before the symptoms of the disease appear. And it's supported by the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. And Grifols is here in a unique position as a global leader in plasma science and plasma medicines to make a contribution, because Grifols has a vast repository of plasma samples with more than 100 million samples collected over more than 15 years. And now Grifols, and with advance in science and in digital technology, to match this data from public health records with the sample bank and making sense out of the samples and studying the samples collected over time to really follow the development of the disease. And so the initiative really aims at, on one hand, identifying early biomarkers for Parkinson's disease, then understanding the disease development over time, and the ultimate goal, of course, would be to help to develop and getting development of disease-modifying therapies which could treat Parkinson's so that even the symptoms don't appear really at the end. So early intervention of the disease.
Now I'm just interested in the technical process of taking this historic sample collection and turning it into something which you can use as real health data today in the era of artificial intelligence. What's the process? What are the steps? What's the nuts and bolts of that?
Yeah, so this project really has become possible only in recent years because of the advance in AI and in digital science and data availability. So we have this huge collection from plasma donors who donated on a regular basis over many, many years. And what we can now do is we can basically tokenize this and bring the data in an anonymized way together with all the data out there in the public space, real-world data. And with this, making really sense of the disease and making sense of the plasma samples and studying plasma samples that we can collect retrospectively now, which were collected a decade or 2 decades ago.
What makes Grifols particularly well placed for this kind of project? Just tell us a bit about the unique niche position, as it were, that the company enjoys.
So, Grifols has a long history in neurological diseases and research in this area. And on the other hand, Grifols has this incredible, unique sample collection with more than 100 million samples. And now with the advance of new technologies of AI, it's possible to connect this with the health records and the history of these patients and basically go back in time to study the disease even before they have occurred. And Then, of course, since Grifols already did with his subsidiary Alkahest research in the Parkinson's space, there is a very natural relationship between the Michael J. Fox Foundation and Grifols, and this basically led then to developing and focusing on Parkinson's disease as first pilot in this new area of research.
Perfect. Just explain for us a little bit more. Let's just unpack this AI aspect. It couldn't happen without AI, could it, this project? It couldn't achieve what it has achieved so far and have the promise that it has without AI. And proteomics, can you explain those two scientific areas and how they have a bearing on this?
Yeah, exactly. AI and proteomics are essential for this kind of research. Before we had this huge database, but now with AI it's possible to connect not only the vast medical data and also biological data and making sense out of it. And this is really the qualitative jump that is now possible with AI. So it's incredibly important for this project. And on the other hand, proteomics really is making sense out of all the proteins that are in the plasma. And Grifols, as a plasma specialist, there's really the possibility to look at tens of thousands of samples at the same time. So and molecules and proteins.
The plasma bank is in effect a data set. It's just a gigantic data set. Is that fair to say, or is it more complicated than that?
It's on one hand, of course, a data set, but it's a biological repository, a longitudinal repository, where we had plasma donors which donated over time, so longitudinal, multiple times during years, and this in a large scale. And of course, with this kind of biological sample bank repository, together with the data and the health information, and then the proteomics data, it's just an unprecedented rich treasure of information for scientific investigation.
Fantastic. You mentioned Alkahest just a little while ago. Just tell us about how its specialization in AI and multiomics enhance the outcomes of the project. So what is the role of Alkahest here?
So Alkahest is a subsidiary of Grifols, and at Alkahest, basically Grifols started the proteomics and AI initiatives, meaning really understanding the plasma on the molecular level, the single proteins, and bring together also the AI capabilities to connecting all the dots on the medical side, on the biology side, on the sample and proteomics information that are coming in.
Excellent. Now let's just touch on Parkinson's disease itself as a disease area. Early detection is critical here. Just tell us a bit about that, and also how this project can assist that early detection.
So what is really usually done in Parkinson's disease, you have symptoms of Parkinson's, then the diagnosis depends on physical examination and also brain imaging. And of course, you can see that then the disease has already progressed to a state where many of these changes are not reversible anymore. So it's essential to detect early on that the disease starts, and what now this project brings it, that we have samples collected years before any sign of the disease appears. So going back and analyzing these samples, it will give us clues, for example, for biomarkers, but also for the processes in the development of the disease, and that we can follow it on a also large scale with many of individuals that develop Parkinson over time, and making really sense of the understanding of the disease and getting early biomarkers that currently are not available.
This is a quantum difference from the current tools that are available and to diagnosticians of Parkinson's, isn't it? I mean, this is a whole step change that we could be looking at here. Can you just perhaps emphasize for us the difference between what we have now to detect and diagnose Parkinson's and what we may have when this project matures?
So let's start on the research side. So what we have now is normally we have a collection of patient samples, and we compare to let's say healthy samples as control. Now what we do is we can see from early on the development of the disease over time in the samples collection. So this is really a jump in the possibility to study the disease. But then you said also for the disease itself, now we just can treat the symptoms of the disease, making life more bearable for the patients and for the families that are affected by Parkinson's disease. But what we could do is really diagnosing the disease before any symptoms. This means also we could potentially start with preemptive or preemptive treatment at the beginning, so that the trajectory of the disease will not even lead to symptoms, but basically that people, although diagnosed with Parkinson, will remain basically healthy and living a normal life. This is the change we want to make with this project.
Excellent. Let's talk about the grant from the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Tell us about that. Tell us about what difference it will make for Grifols and how it will impact the Kronos PD project.
So Grifols, because of the research, and Alka has did already some clinical trials in Parkinson's disease, there's a very natural relationship with the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And what this grant and the support of the Michael J. Fox Foundation does is really help us to start this groundbreaking research initiative as a first disease that we can study in this platform. And it also helps us really to connect with all the scientific community in the Parkinson space, and testing this and making sense of this data we are generating.
Fantastic. This talk is not just Parkinson's disease, of course, is it? I mean, the potential, if this way of analysing this plasma bank produces success with Parkinson's, it could affect other diseases as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Parkinson patients and samples is only a very small fraction of the overall collection and individuals that are there. So this means that we could basically use this concept for all kinds of diseases that develop slowly over time. So Parkinson is one example. Other neurodegenerative diseases are another sample, metabolic diseases, or even cancer. So we could work on very early diagnostic and then see how the diseases develop over time and making sense out of it. So we see really a tremendous potential in this platform.
Fantastic. I think we should talk a bit about the mission and vision of Grifols corporately here, what it's trying to do in the global healthcare space, particularly with this plasma products and this kind of research. Just give us an idea of how this fits into the broader mission that Grifols sees itself having in the industry, particularly in this area.
So serving the patient is really at the heart of what Grifols does. And of course, part of this is also to advance bold science and making a difference in diseases and the most pressing diseases for many patients. So in this sense, really the Kronos PD project fits directly in the mission of Grifols.
Perfect. Now, coming back to Kronos PD as the project itself specifically, can you just unpack for us the timeline, perhaps the landmark kind of hurdles or the moments when you hoping to make announcements and so on. I mean, the unfolding of the project, and then looking forward beyond that. What are we looking on the horizon here with Kronos PD? Where will it be in 2, 4, 6 years' time, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's even faster. So we expect the results from the current phase of the Kronos PD project already first half of this year. And of course, then we will review it together with the Michael J. Fox Foundation and decide on next steps, how to progress with the project, and also what kind of other actions we can take out of it and what kind of learnings we have.
And tell me about your partnerships with other kind of research groups, with Parkinson's specialists, with clinicians and so on. You're part of a community here. Can you tell us anything about how you're partnering with other groups and individuals in researching this space?
Yeah, I mean, of course, in the Parkinson's disease space, we are partnering with clinicians. We are partnering with basic researchers. Also, we are talking with different agencies to see, of course, what is the need for the development of the Parkinson's disease. And there are, for example, some very important biomarker initiatives also supported by the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And bringing this kind of initiatives together really then helps to develop and make sense out of the early development of the disease.
Do you think we could be looking at a shift in public policy and the way that neurodegenerative diseases are viewed generally now? I mean, could this be actually taking us into a whole new area of science for this particular disease area? It does seem quite revolutionary the way that you describe it.
Yeah, I think biomarkers are getting more and more important. So biomarkers are very important for also the policy, the health policy, and it's a shift from treating a disease when it's there and when there are symptoms to really being able to work more in a preventive space or prophylactic space, even to avoid disease or to treat the disease even before you seeing all the symptoms and you have all the problems. And this, of course, goes back then also talking, for example, with regulatory agencies, where this is a totally new concept, and you have to talk about more biomarker-led therapies, in which direction this could go. Yeah.
Perfect. Coming to the end now, just talking about what message you'd like to share with patients and families, caregivers, people like that affected by Parkinson's disease. What can you offer as a branch of hope for families who are affected by this disease? And if so, what would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, I can only say Grifols is really deeply committed to advancing research in Parkinson's disease. And there we have in our hand here a groundbreaking initiative which can give a lot of new insights. And I see really there in science a big silver lining on the horizon, that there's hope really that in the future we can treat the disease, or I would even say treat before the symptoms occur, so meaning basically a functional cure of the disease. And I think that's a goal where we all as a community, scientific community, medical community, are striving for and what we want to achieve.
So how can individuals and organisations support Grifols' work in advancing diagnostic and therapeutic innovations?
So first of all, I would like to thank at this point all the individuals which donate plasma, because they support on one hand all the patients with life-saving medicines produced from their donation, but they also support the groundbreaking research and that we are doing now with the samples they provided. Then, of course, I want to thank the Michael J. Fox Foundation. Without this, really, it wouldn't have been possible to kickstart this kind of very bold scientific initiative, which really makes a difference. And then lastly, and you ask how to support this, we are really open. This platform has such a vast potential. We are open to partner with institutions, with organizations to use this platform to studying all kinds of diseases. So whenever, of course, if there are ideas of how to partner and to collaborate, would be great to get in touch and support further scientific advancement for the well-being of patients and to address public health topics which are so important.
Dr. Jörg Schüttrumpf, Chief Scientific Innovation Officer at Grifols, thank you so much for taking time today to talk us through this amazingly interesting and important project. Thank you.
So thank you, Jonathan, for having me. Thank you.
If you'd like to know more about the Chronos PD project and the use of plasma-based biomarkers in advancing the diagnosis of Parkinson's disease, then please do check out our upcoming Pharma 2025 event in Barcelona and Grifols' website, of course. Bye for now.